what Gary and Anne Marie have learned over their 57 plus years of marriage.
We come back to our default. Remember that moment, because that moment still brings those emotions right back rushing to us. Those emotions of how much we love each other. We will never allow a particular moment to define our spouse with true love, and certainly the love of God guiding us. We don't want him to define us by our worst moment. So we accept to look beyond that moment, which could be very aggravating. We learn to honor the difference between ceremony and personal worship. We both don't need to breathe God the same way. Each morning, we remind ourselves of God's goodness, and we recite Psalms 23:6. Find your verse, find your message, and then daily repeat it to each other.
Well, welcome back to the Life Parenting Podcast. Rich and Julie Young here.
Yes, glad to be here.
Good to be with you all. We have Gary and Anne Marie Ezzo with us today, founders of Growing Families International, and we have a fun topic to talk about today. So we're going to take Gary and Anne Marie back down memory lane to start off our podcast. So Gary, you're standing at the altar on your wedding day, and you're watching Anne Marie walk down the aisle. What are you thinking? What was your thought?
I still see her, even as you say that. From 57 years, I could still see her. She's so beautiful in that white dress. She did something different. She had a shorter dress, not one long train. She looked so beautiful. It was so modern. It was so before trendy. And I just remember this is real.
It is real. Anne Marie, you're walking down the aisle. You see Gary up front. What was going through your mind?
Look at them smiling at each other. You got to get on YouTube and see these two.
Well, it's like, we're getting married. Is this happening?
Yeah.
Did you shed a tear at all as you walked down?
No.
No.
Okay.
No, but I did make the first mistake.
Okay.
And
just before you said I do, or
no,
after?
right after I said I do, right after the first kiss, everything was fine up to that moment. We began to just take our first steps down, and I looked over to her as we're walking, and everyone's applauding, and I said, "Well, Rath," that was her maiden name, Rath. I said, "Well, Rath, we did it." She looked at me and she said, "I'm not Rath anymore."
That's right. I had forgotten that. But yeah.
So Anne Marie, your first year, somewhere in your first year of marriage, you typically, most people have their first aha moment.
Hopefully in a good way and not, what did I do?
It could be either or, but so I'm going to leave that open. What was one of those aha moments you remember as a married couple somewhere in your first year of marriage? And Gary, I'm going to throw that to you second, but Anne Marie gets that first.
Actually, one of the first things that come to mind, it would be more for us as a couple, and I guess our naiveness of things. I'll never forget because our first apartment, it was an old building. It's still there, the Obleston Apartments in Utica, New York. And they used to be townhouses they were restored but made into apartments. And our living room, it was a long one. It had a bay window. It looked over Genesee Street. And we thought, it would be neat if we could do wall-to-wall carpeting in here. So we go to Sears and start looking at carpets.
Because we had that $50 gift.
We had a $50 check. And then you got to remember, this was 1968. So that was a while ago. So $50 to us seemed like a lot of money. And it was a good substantial amount at the time. And so we were talking to the carpet gentleman, and we told him what we wanted. And he goes, "And how much money do you have to spend?" And we told him. And he goes, "How about I show you a nice 9x12 rug?"
It's an area rug.
Yeah. And we thought, okay. But I mean, those are kind of things that we kind of discovered. Okay.
How about you, Gary? What was one of your
Oh, mine was
first
not positive.
Oh,
no.
Mine was not. We were like day 3, and I was getting ready. I think
that's pretty early in the marriage.
day
Day 3.
Yeah, day 3 at home, and
Okay, so post honeymoon.
yeah.
Post honeymoon.
So we were home, and she's fixing me breakfast, and I just happened to say to her when she put these beautiful eggs in front of me, well, these eggs, this is not how my mom makes them.
Oh.
And
I'm sure. Yeah.
Were you
that
wearing
was-
the eggs?
Well, that was
Almost.
I saw a side of my bride that I had not seen before, and I realized from that day forward, my mom is out of the equation, and my bride, she's number one, and I love the way she cooks, and she is a phenomenal cook. And she does make my eggs exactly like I.
But you know,
Over
it
easy.
It took me years though before I would fry him eggs again. I mean, it really did because it's like, if I can't do it right, I'm not going to risk it. So,
Oh, honey.
but I do. I remember it was one of those things I had to get over. But
Yeah.
now I just do.
Yeah.
I think we could do a
pleased.
whole podcast episode on the mother-in-law. I mean, you think about it, and now having a married son, I get it.
Yeah.
Like I was the woman in my son's life
Yeah.
for until he got married. What, 22 years, 21 years, something like that. And now this other beautiful woman that I've prayed for, and I love her, but she took my place. And I can kind of understand when relationships aren't healthy,
Yeah.
how there can be a little tension with
Yeah.
mother-in-law. So
Yeah.
yeah, I get it.
Anyway,
But,
it all worked out well.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. We're still married.
Yes, you sure
And I
are.
still make
Yeah.
makes.
and my wife and my mom loved you.
Yes, she
Yes.
did.
Yeah.
So today, what we're going to talk about is what Gary and Anne Marie have learned over their 57 plus years of marriage. So we're going to take some time to go through and pick some nuggets from their relationship and what they've learned. And hopefully it will be things that you all can implement in your marriage and be encouraged by if you're already doing it. So what's the first thing that you guys want to dig into?
Let me just share with the listener that we had a little bit of advance notice about this. And so we were able to jot down. We sat down. I remember one time in the back porch and we just went through and says, what are the highlights? Let's go through a few things. If we were going to share this as a form of encouragement, a form of teaching, what do we want to say? And I think the number one, honey, thing that we both agreed on is we had our moment. So why don't you explain what that is? We had our moment in time.
And I think that was the time when we both realized how much we loved each other and we wanted to spend the rest of our lives together.
Yeah. And why that's important is because that becomes the default. There are times when I may not do, there are a lot of times when I don't do it all right or maybe completely.
Oh, honey.
I missed a hamper or something. And there could be a spiritually intense moment, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter whether it's light or whether it's really, really serious. We come back to our default. And that's what we encourage young couples is to remember that moment, because that default, that moment still brings those emotions right back rushing to us. Those emotions of how much we love each other.
What was that moment in time?
Well, we had gone home for Thanksgiving holidays, so of course that was a separation, and
A long separation.
well, yeah.
So were you married then?
No.
Oh,
This was when we
Okay.
were in that season before,
Yeah.
and just really missed each other. And when we first saw each other, we got back to school and saw each other. It was like we just hugged each other, and it was and it was just that realization that yes, I really we had.
Do you remember the spot where you hugged?
We were at the dorms.
I do.
Yeah,
You do?
it was
Okay.
outside- it
The
was outside
lobby
my-
of the lobby of the dorm.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Right near
I
the-
can still even now just it does
we
bring
were,
back all those
we were both
emotions.
RAs.
Yeah.
So she was an RA, obviously.
So we had to come back
and back
early.
then the dorms weren't co-ed. So our dorms were separated by 100 yards. And, but back then, because we were both RAs, we had to come back a day early. And as a result of that,
Yeah.
I saw her walking with her father, and I couldn't wait for
them to leave.
Because I just wanted to I did want to give them time
to
say goodbye. And the next thing I knew is there she was. She was right there. So anyway, we had our moment.
Yeah.
And that has been our default. Sometimes we use it as an excuse. I mean, now it's a great default because she gets upset with me. I said, remember November. So, yeah. And, a second thing.
I don't want to remember November.
Well, that's actually pretty close sometimes. Okay. But we won't go there right now.
No.
Let's move on to the second, the second point.
The second one is what we've learned is as individuals, so Rich to Julie, Julie to Rich, you see more abilities in your partner than your partner sees in him or herself. And that means we're both willing to take a risk on each other's assessment of self. So when Rich says, Julie, I see this in you. And Julie says, no, I don't ever want to get up front. As Anne Marie said, I don't want to get on stage. I do not want to speak to people. No, that's not who I am. And Rich says, no, you have something to communicate. It's Julie accepting your assessment of an ability that she's not sure of. And it's the same thing, you accepting Julie's assessment of you.
What's one of those that each of you shared with each other?
Well,
Anne Marie, what's one you shared in Gary of that? And Gary, the same back to Anne Marie.
Well,
you were.
Mine, I did not want to. I can still remember it. It's actually when we had started, well, we didn't know it was going to be a ministry that we started, but we were sharing with some parents, and Gary had done some teaching, and then he asked me to come up and speak in front of people
with a microphone.
And I didn't want to do that, but he said no. And so of course, being the submissive wife that I'm not, but
And now, how many tens and hundreds of thousands of people have you spoken in
What's
front
one
of?
that you shared with Gary that he received
I
from
think
you?
His abilities. I mean, while he has written, I don't think he initially saw that. And this was even before the parenting. This was way back, actually, when I believe the Lord was calling him into ministry. He wasn't sure that was the word. And I says, honey, you have a gift that God has given you to be able to share the word of God in a way that people understand and have them get excited about it. So that was. So
when you each spoke that into each other, was it an immediate, oh, he sees that in me? Or was it, you just love me, you just think the best of me? That's still not true.
No to both of those.
Yeah.
It wasn't immediate. It takes time because you're breaking an old habit of thinking.
Yeah.
Those old habits, those old identifiers when people spoke that you could never do that. And then here's someone who says, oh, honey, not only can you do it, you're really good at that. Mm-hmm. So it took some time. What was the second part of that?
Oh, well, it was no. Did it happen right away?
Yeah,
and did we
the answer is
agree
no.
to?
Well, I just think sometimes when someone close to me says, oh, you can do this, I'm like, well, you think the best of me. Like, you think I can do anything. It almost feels like it could be flattery. It's not.
Well, but for me, I did not take it that way.
Yeah.
She is very, very sincere. I just felt her assessment may not have been accurate. Not that she was flattering, just that her assessment, and I needed to grow into her assessment. Okay. And that's what we would say to young couples is, this is the assessment. Sometimes you do have to grow into it. And we both grew into our assessment of each other.
And I think when you think of the concept that God brings you together to complete one another, and I mean, I can see it now. I didn't quite understand that at the time, but definitely can see how, because we do get to know each other really well and what our strong points are and our weak points are. Yeah. And this was definitely a strong point.
And I imagine there were other confirming voices.
Right.
That
there definitely
reinforced.
Was. There was.
So listening for those. Oh,
yes.
My husband said that
there
too.
Were.
Yeah. Maybe I should listen.
Yeah. But
there were.
But when you hear that initial and then you hear the confirming voices, it elevates the initial. When the person you love the most is saying, and you're hearing from the person you love the most, that this is who you are. This is what you can do. It elevates it.
So we all have strengths and weaknesses. Some of us tend to naturally spend most of our time focusing on our weaknesses. Some of us are very confident and we spend most of our time on our strengths. How did you balance that off in handling that as a married couple over all these years, strengths and weaknesses?
Yeah, that was one of the points that we present is we learn to appreciate our individual weaknesses, but we also learn to respect how our partners, our wife or husband, how they compensate for that. I mean, there's things that just I can't do, and there are things that she can't do very well, and I can't do very well. But that's because, not because of desire. It's not a moral issue. It's not an ability issue. It's just a natural tendency. For example,
it's a gifting.
Yeah,
we're gifted with different
exactly.
things.
For example, if I drop a screw in my garage floor, I could spend a day looking for it. I mean, it's an addiction. I've got to find it. And I have a terrible time, Rich, finding it. But I've learned, if I ask Anne Marie, and we just did this 2 days ago, if I ask Anne Marie to come in and says, honey, I had some drill bits that were in a little pack. I had put them next to some other items in the first bay of our garage. And I went to get them and they're gone. And so I couldn't find them. I must have spent already 20, 30 minutes looking for them. And I know I moved them. I called Anne Marie up. I said, honey, I need you. Can you just come to the basement? And I told her, I gave her the scenario, said, here's what I'm looking for. Yeah, in 3 minutes she found it. So she actually has the gift to find that little tiny screw that I can't. Now
she's been picking up the pieces
for
57 years.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
But
that's so good.
But that speaks to the fact that she's a very detailed person.
Right.
That she could see the one blade of grass out of 400 that is bent the wrong way.
Right.
And where, to me, it's all green.
Right.
But for you, was the Christian Doors?
Yeah. Well, a couple of things I learned about it. One is not to ever tell my husband he can't do something. Yeah. When our home in New Hampshire, which basically he built, we had framers and stuff like that, but he did all the finish work. And we were preparing to go to seminary, and he had made some doors for our rooms, etc., but they were pretty rustic looking. So he goes, I'm going to make some Christian doors. And those maybe would be called panel doors. I'm sure people have seen them. They call them back in New England Christian doors because it had a center beam and one that went across, so it looked like a cross.
Sure.
So they called them Christian doors.
Right.
Yeah, I've never heard that.
Yeah. And so I said, honey, you can make a lot of things, but you can't make Christian doors.
Kind of like the eggs aren't like my mother's.
Yeah, exactly. So he got the lumber, he dried it, and he made the most beautiful Christian doors. And since that time, I don't know that I've ever said you can't do it again. I might start and I catch myself. Right. It's like, no, he can. And all I have to do is say he can't, and he will. So it's like,
you say he can't, I say Christian Doors.
So when people spend time together in close proximity, sometimes there's disagreements.
What?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I know.
And I'm just saying, maybe when you're married, you're going to spend time together because you're living in the same locale, same home.
Hopefully.
And that's the ideal.
Yeah.
And so as our pastor, Pastor Greg says, you have some times of intense fellowship.
Right.
How have you handled those times over the years? And well, first of all, have you ever had a time of intense fellowship? Or if not, we can pass on to the next thought I have. But if you have, then how have you handled it?
Well, how could I have intense fellowship with the most wonderful woman? But
okay, Anne Marie, have you ever had intense fellowship with Gary?
Hypothetically speaking,
Hypothetically, yes.
Hypothetically speaking, there's a precept that we were introduced to that we just made it really a bond between us, and that is that we will never allow a particular moment to define our spouse. That you did this, or you're angry now, or you're upset. And that could produce a lot of tension. But we realize with true love, and certainly the love of God guiding us, is that we don't want him to define us by our worst moment. Right? So what happens is we realize she's still the most beautiful woman in the world. even when she does this. And he still is my beloved husband, even when he does that. So we accept to look beyond that moment, which could be very aggravating. From there, just see each other as beyond the moment as what we accept. So, and we use what we call the Joseph factor. Remember, Joseph did not put Mary away in a public way. And we really believe one of the things that's important for a marriage is you never publicly and intentionally shame or correct your spouse in the moment. And sometimes,
and that's
for
some have personalities, that's kind of hard. Like me.
Yeah, I remember one time we had this in both, I think, the Growing Kids and in the Life series. We talked about the 7 birds on a fence, which is our classic go-to, because I was explaining to someone that I was writing, and it was a beautiful morning, and honey, it was cloudy that morning. If you remember, it was cloudy. Okay, it was a cloudy morning, and I can remember there were like these 8 birds that just kind of went on and landed right on a fence all together. Actually, honey, there were only 7 birds, and so we call that
7 birds on a fence. And so all we have to do and this is usually my error is he was just 7 birds.
7 birds.
So it's like
7 birds,
and I get control of myself.
We try to control. Yeah, that's how we have these little codes. But we have a story. So Anne Marie's going to read this to you. And I think this really speaks to the issue. When you're looking at all that your wife or your husband is, all that they do, all the blessings of being married to each other, the story sort of speaks about it.
Yeah. There's a guy is driving around when he sees a sign in front of a house, talking dog for sale. Curious, he rings the bell, and the owner tells him the dog is in the backyard. He walks out and finds a Labrador sitting there. You talk, he asks. Yep, the lab replies. So what's your story? The lab says, well, I discovered I could talk when I was young. I wanted to help the government, so I told the CIA. Before I knew it, they had me jetting around from country to country, sitting in rooms with spies and world leaders. Nobody suspects the dog. I was one of their top agents for 8 years. But all that travel wore me out, so I took a job at the airport doing undercover security. Picked up a ton of intel, got some medals, started a family, had a bunch of pups, and now I'm just retired, taking it easy. The guy is stunned. He goes back in and says to the owner, this dog is incredible. Why are you selling him just for $10? The owner shrugs and says, because the dog is a liar. He didn't do half the things he just told you.
And the point is, sometimes the obvious is missed.
Took me a second. I got it.
Sometimes the obvious is missed.
Yeah.
You know, when we look at each other, we think through how blessed we are. And so we are cautious to correct each other because there's so much good that goes before it. So.
And even in private. I mean, and I don't want to give the impression that, we've never, I've had my moments and I've come up and I've said, how many times? But overall.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, you talked earlier about Anne Marie's attention to detail. And I know in a lot of the writing of books, like she is editing, she is looking, she is so good at the details and finding that, which is a gift that she has been given. But I can share with you, Anne Marie, because that's a gift to detail, the details matter to you.
They do.
And so 8 birds matters to you.
Whether it's 7 or 8.
It's actually 7.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
And so we want to bring that up because details matter.
Yeah.
But I have learned, I'm still learning. I shouldn't say I have learned because I'm still a work in progress. Does that detail matter? And that's what I have to ask myself. Does that detail matter right
in
now?
public.
Well, and even in private. Even
yeah.
in private, it
that,
matters.
the comma and the misspelled word, that matters.
That matters.
Mm-hmm. That's going to go and be published.
My wife tells me details matter, Gary. Yeah. That's what my wife says. Yeah.
But does 8 birds versus 7 birds matter?
Yeah.
Not in the least.
Not when you're in a public setting and that detail doesn't add or detract from the actual story being presented.
Yeah. And for me, I mean, the other part of it is because, and probably for most of us, I would hope that you're in the home you grew up with, truth was a very important thing. And so in my mind, there was still an element, but that's not true.
Right.
Not that they know and not that it met, because it's not a moral issue.
Right.
And that's the thing that I had to just from that kind of thinking I brought into our relationship.
I think it's truth, but I think it's also just the human nature of a lot of people just desire to be right. They want to be right on everything, and they want to control the direction of the conversation so that it ends up showing that they are right.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to admit when you're wrong, or sometimes for those people to see other people being right.
Right.
And that's hard.
Yeah.
But in lieu of rightness is graciousness.
Correct.
And that is also a very high virtue on God's list. So
How about dealing with pain? People dealing with, pain, and how to handle that.
Let's talk, honey, why don't you take this one on, we learn not to over spiritualize moments of pain of the other person, what the other person's experiencing. And that's because it so often ends up belittling their emotions.
Oh, you mean kind of sort of when something is happening that's like, the Lord has this under control.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Now I feel better.
Yeah.
So would that go into pain and grieving a little bit?
One time I had prepared like 80 hours for a conference. This one message in this conference. And the church secretary had double booked a conference for that same weekend, not just in the same church, but it was like a family camp away. And all the people that were supposed to be coming over, they were all already signed up for the family camp. And so I get there and I'm speaking to 25 people.
Oh.
And so I'm just complaining to Anne Marie about, I put 80 hours in. I said, there could have been something else that could have been done. And she's so sweet and so gracious and so spiritual. And she says, well, honey, the people who were there were the people God wanted to hear that message. It's just God's sovereignty at work. And I think that doesn't help at all, because what it does actually in that moment, and that may have been in a sense, potentially theologically true. However, that didn't help me in the moment because I was in an emotional pain. And I felt like you have just belittled my emotions.
Or minimized.
You minimized my pain by that statement. And so, and she wasn't the only one who's done this before in our marriage. So, but we've learned to not to minimize the pain that someone else is going through. Oh, your haircut appointment got canceled and I'm getting all of this. I have to deal with that, honey. It is that. So I know that was important to her because it was leading to other things, not just getting her hair done, but what it meant for the next 3 days that she already had on her schedule. Right. And so we just learned to minimize each other's. Yeah.
So obviously it's painful in the moment, but as long as we learn and don't try to defend ourselves.
Right.
And
that's true.
And that's not always the easiest part, but
And
you got to work it through.
And speaking of pain, we also learned, honey, and another point, is that there are some things that in each of our growing up years, certain habits, certain things, we cannot always fix in the other person, that we have to leave room for the Lord to step in and do the preparation. And if we're constantly chasing after each other to fix what happened in your childhood that has produced this moment, then we would not have the true relational intimacy that we enjoy so much, because we're always at war. Right.
That's
so we're not each other's Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
I guess that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
As much as we'd like to be.
Yes.
I mean, and sometimes God does use us to help
Yeah.
that.
I don't want to minimize that. We're each other's helpers. And,
right. But
which is important.
But it's what are we characterized by? If we're
so has it ever happened where one of you was excited about something and the other person had a check, and then you're just like, you can't understand why they aren't as excited as you, and those hesitations sometimes play out to be a blessing?
Well, actually, that that is one of the precepts that guides us, is the fact that we've learned to respect each other's hesitation. And let's go. This sounds like a great opportunity. And I'm going to leave the job and I'll give them a 2-week notice. And then she has a hesitation. And, at first, we're young and say, well, let's just see what happens. And then over time, we've learned, in my enthusiasm, the Holy Spirit's not being able to break through. But in my enthusiasm, the Holy Spirit went directly to her and speaking to her and her putting on the brakes. That let's just slow down. I don't want to rob you of a moment. I don't want to rob you of your joy or enthusiasm. However, let's slow down. So the principle here, Rich, is learning to respect each other's hesitation. I may not see everything. I think I see everything clearly. But Anne Marie says, no. There's certain things that I can see that you're not able. And learning to respect that from both of us turn out really to be a big thing.
Well, it's a safeguard.
Yeah.
And again, there's that characterization. I mean, this is where some of the temperaments and personalities come into play as well. If you have one of those Eeyore, as I call them, Eeyore personalities, I mean, everything can become a drama and you put the brakes on it. So there definitely has to be a balance there.
And I think that in time, every couple finds that balance. It's a little bit of give and take, but you find it.
Was there one time in the past that you can remember where the other person's hesitation really saved you? Like from getting into a situation potentially that wouldn't have been good?
Well, when you say really been good, I think Anne Marie has hesitation because she saw things that would have hurt our family if I had gone forward.
Okay.
And as a result of that, her hesitation was enough for me to step back. And then that gave me more time to try to evaluate. Where we see this oftentimes is in our writing. When I'm writing, I am so excited. Honey, listen to what I just wrote. This is going to be like a Pulitzer Prize winning statement. And she says, honey,
have you considered?
Those are their words. Yeah. That's good. And I could tell by her face, okay, this is not the way it's going to work.
She's not quite as excited as I am.
And what I've learned, Rich, it gets, because you pour yourself into it and you really think you've got it. And what I've learned is I know she's right. Okay, I just need 5 minutes to process my own
come
failure.
down off of my excitement.
Yes, that's exactly.
Yeah.
But it's important in marriage that
good.
happens, that you do that.
Yeah.
And then there's also other hesitations. Like we have another kind of a guideline and a rule. It's a willingness to recognize and respect each other's red lines. We both have red lines for Anne Marie, for each other. For Anne Marie, her red line has always been from the beginning of our marriage because she worked in the operating room. She saw some terror in the ER. Thank you, honey. In the ER, she saw terrible things that happen, especially in motorcycles. One of her red lines was, you're never getting a motorcycle. One of my greatest desires has always been
to get a motorcycle.
How about a moped? How about, maybe, one of those boards like the kids have next door where I can stand on and, the closest I got to is a golf cart.
Just like it.
Yeah. But we'll
get you a 2-wheel golf cart.
But
we'll work on that.
But we've learned to respect each other's red lines. There's certain things that when that she puts before, she says, no, honey, this would really upset me if you went forward with this. And I could say the same thing. So
what was one of my red lines when we got married? It wasn't many. There was just 1 or 2.
Are you thinking of one in particular?
Yeah.
Nothing's coming to mind right now, but as soon as you say it, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, one of my red lines when we got married is at Christmas, we're going to have a live tree.
Oh, live Christmas tree.
We're not going to have an artificial tree.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yep. And
and
the second one is at Thanksgiving. What's one thing at Thanksgiving that's a red line for me?
That was one of my early lessons. The pumpkin pie has to be made from real pumpkins.
That's right.
Yeah. Newlywed first year of marriage, I brought home the canned pumpkin. And he said, what's this? And I said, pumpkin, I'm going to make us a pumpkin pie for our first Thanksgiving. It was just us. I had to work.
Yeah, we're in our apartment.
1,000 miles away from family.
I'm like, what?
And he said, you don't make pumpkin pie with canned pumpkin. I said, of course you do. What else would you make it with?
That's right.
And he said, real pumpkin. I said, no one makes pumpkin pies from real pumpkins.
My mother does.
Oh, so okay.
And for the last 33 years, what have we made?
pumpkin pie from Real Pumpkins. And he even agreed. I'm so thankful for you. He said, I'll tell you what, I'll buy the pie pumpkins, cook up the pumpkin, and then you make the pie. Because I was like, that sounds like a lot of work. But he took care of the lot of work.
You know
So we
what?
worked it out.
And that's amazing because I'm going to go home now and I'm going to start making my own eggs. Instead of having her make the eggs, I'm going to make the eggs.
That'll be a podcast a couple months down the road. How is that going, Gary?
Okay.
How is that going?
I think I'll stay with you.
Yeah.
I was just trying to follow his lead. He's such an example.
Yeah.
He's such a good
Okay,
example.
We'll make a note of that in the show notes.
Yeah.
Gary making his own eggs.
It's like, but circling back to the excitement, I've heard some people say, he's the foot on the gas in their marriage and I'm the foot on the brakes, or he's the exciting one and I'm the pull back one. In some marriages, it's like that. And I would say Rich is probably the foot on the gas. He has the ideas, let's do this. And I'm more the one thinking, not a good idea. Or maybe I'm just more hesitant and I have to warm up to the idea. But one thing I've learned, and I'm still working on it, is when he is excited about an idea, to mirror that excitement. Like, wow, I could see where that's amazing. Have you considered?
Right.
But not just squishing it and going, that's a terrible idea. I think I have done that quite a few times. And just to watch his countenance, wow, I'm like, ugh.
I just keep track. And I know once I get, not keep track of your no's, but I keep track of my ideas. And once I get maybe 9, 10 no's, I know I'm getting really close to a yes. So once the number gets up high enough, I'm like, I know my next couple ideas. One of these is going to break through. So keep going, keep going.
I got to work on that.
But that's a good point, though, and hopefully I've learned that as well to a degree that, especially like with the writing and everything, that my immediate response isn't.
And you have done so much better. Which
Hopefully
makes it easier to do all my corrections because I know I just, all right, this didn't cut it.
Disagreement is a real thing.
Yeah, disagreement.
I mean, it is real.
We're individuals.
Right, we're individuals. How have you handled disagreement in your marriage over the years? I mean, Julie and I, have we had any disagreements in ours? We've had a few.
Not in the last hour.
Not in the last hour. Yeah, not in the last 35 minutes. We've been doing great.
Besides, as we said earlier, we do not define each other's love or commitment based on any particular moment, but we work beyond that. But one thing we learned from our friends, mutual friends, Greg and Tara Banks, was a little thing, and you could do that. It changes, it goes different ways, but at night, after a long day of disagreement, we try to touch toes. Whoever is touch a toe, which means I'm okay. Are you okay? And
so if we have a disagreement, Gary,
we're not. You and I. It
doesn't apply to you and I.
Husband and wife.
Oh, husband and wife. Okay.
I remember one day I came in, and there's Anne Marie on the computer, and she's talking to someone on the computer. And I thought, that's strange. Computer, we don't have a phone. And I said, who are you talking to? She goes like this to the person. She says, I'm talking to the Apple Care guy. I said, you're talking to Apple? She, yeah. Came right up on screen. Said, want help? Here's the Apple. And I said, you know what, honey? I'm a certified Apple manager. I can't even talk to Apple. What are you talking about? So I was having this problem with my computer, and he just needed some information. I said, did you give him any passwords? And she said, well, yeah, but that's only because he needed some passwords. And so I shut that conversation down. That was a long afternoon. Because you end up changing your credit cards, you end up changing all your passwords, you end up changing. And so by the time we got to bed, I think we did stay in the same room that night. By the time we get to bed, we learn touching the toe, because tomorrow everything's going to be better. And tomorrow you're not going to call an Apple. You're not going to let someone on the computer tell you he's an Apple, and especially if he has speaking with a foreign language, broken English.
But did you say, Anne Marie, you're still the apple of my eye?
No, in that moment, I was not. I was not in my most spiritual.
You needed me to kind of help you with that, maybe. Yeah.
But I think that's good. Our each of our spouses, I've done a million things that I'm so thankful that Rich has been gracious. Maybe not in the moment. I know I have not been gracious in the moment when he does some things, but remembering we both do that, and I need to react the way I want him to react to me the next time I do something.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I'm not only thankful that he was gracious, but I'm so thankful that God was so gracious, because there were no negative
Yeah.
ramifications
Yeah.
for any of
Yeah,
my
yeah. Adventures. We'll call them
believability
adventures.
of things.
Let's-
Yeah.
let's
You
talk
always
about-
believe the best in everyone, Emery. It's one
Yeah.
thing I love about you, but
Yeah, it can have its
Yeah.
weaknesses.
Well, that leads to this next one. She is so nice. It's like you. You are so nice, Julie. So nice. And she, you can listen to every conversation and you just go. And because you're so nice, scheduling and making sure we get to places at the right time, on time, sometimes it's not a priority because the person in front of you is just so many more questions. And so because she's so nice, we came up with, we've done this earlier, but now we've refined it. And it's to learn to respect each other's hints. And we both have hints. So when she is really being nice and she is spending all that time with that young mom and that young mom is going through into the second hour with Anne Marie, I just know I've got to rescue her. And so I just tell her, for me, I just say, oh, honey, this has been so nice because you are nice. And this has been so nice. And that means it's time that you're going to say goodbye.
you just let your secret out, Gary.
Yeah. Well, I could
Well,
change
this
the
is
code
true.
word. I could. I didn't think about that.
Someone's going to be talking to Emery, and Gary's going to be like, "This is so nice."
This is so nice.
Oh, it was just so nice. That's going to be a new term. I was so
They're,
nice.
they're not going to remember that.
Because she is so relentless
way.
in her attention to people
Yeah.
and so caring. But that can carry away because there are other people who have needs like me. And
That's self-serving.
well, it might be,
Wow.
but it's true. But it's true.
You do have needs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we have what? So what do you have for me? What do you? Is it the look?
the look.
The head nod.
Yeah.
I always try to.
That
do
means
the little
move
head nod.
on to the next point,
Yeah.
Gary.
Okay,
move on
That's
to the
what
next
that
point.
means.
The next
Yes.
point is, hey, we learn to honor the difference between ceremony and, in a sense, personal worship. And we learned this early on that we both don't need to breathe God the same way.
Oh wow,
That's really good.
Okay, so Anne Marie, as you guys probably know, you wake up early and think, oh, there's the light on in the couch. And
I'm that person.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
I
there's
see it on.
yeah, and there's Anne Marie, and she is down there for her full 1.5, 2 hours of devotion, catching up. She does her prayer time in the morning, so beautiful. I don't do that, and I have the same sincere desire. I connect with God in so many different ways throughout the day, and I don't judge her for, well, why do you just put it into that little morning thing? Why aren't you making it the whole day? And she doesn't say to me, well, why do you stretch it out the whole day? Why don't you just have a compact and quality?
More holy to start out the
Yeah.
day. Yeah.
And
you
so
could argue.
the idea is that the ceremony of worship is often mistaken with the very concept of worship. When we do our personal worship, when we do our personal reading, when I'm seeking the Lord on something, I'm going to do it differently. And what we've learned is it's okay that we do it differently for each other.
Yeah.
right?
And I think this
good.
is really, well, it's probably important all through your marriage, but I think particularly maybe when we're first married and, you go to marriage conferences and everything, and, they talk about having a mutual prayer time together and all this other stuff. And then if you're not doing that, it's like, maybe there's something
we're
wrong
missing
with
something.
our marriage and
And
stuff
see,
like
that's
that.
part of the transactional feeling.
And so, I mean, it definitely was something that I had to grow in and accept, and same with
Yeah.
Gary, but
Yeah.
just respecting each other's differences in that particular way.
Do you
because-
ever step into each other's world of the way you worship? Just today, I'm going to step into your world because I know it means a lot to you. I'm going to sit on the couch and do, or do you do that in other ways?
No, what we do, I think more predominantly is me sitting down with her, not in a sense to want to interrupt what she's doing, but to let her a chance to share with me.
Mhm.
And that's when her overflow begins. She says, I just read this verse and I got to tell you what God was saying here. Or she'll read me a passage what someone wrote and says, can I share this with you? And you want to be open because that's all coming from that overflow. And she'll do the same thing. And because I'll be there and honey, I just had this thought about look what the Lord has done.
Mm-hmm.
And she's busy doing her world. But at that moment, when I invite her into my world of worship, she's attentive to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah.
You shared, I think, Anne Marie, it might have been you sharing, you have coffee every morning. And one of the things you do is like, who's the first person that says, I love you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What are some other things that you remind each other often of? I mean, that was pretty neat. So what's something else you remind each other of on a regular basis?
Well, they're just, I don't know if it's a reminder. I mean, we will often, even throughout the day, just tell each other we love each other. But sometimes he'll be, especially when he's been working out in the garden or doing something in the garage, he'll have his ear, he listens to some music. And
we hear it.
Yeah, this is true. Well, sometimes he's actually just listening through his earbuds.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
and much of it is probably worship and praise, but there's a couple of songs that are kind of like our songs. And then all of a sudden, if he might even come upstairs. Sometimes I might go down into the garage for a reason, and the next thing I know, we're dancing. And so it's like those are just little reminders, and
That's awesome.
Listening to the songs.
And
that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the
I need to have a song with you, Gary, where we dance together. I gotta pick that up.
No, you don't.
yeah.
No?
No.
Okay,
No.
maybe. No.
Maybe we could do some
You
kind
can
of
stick to the line dancing together. Yeah.
maybe the line.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's a possibility then.
Don't
Yeah, that's awesome.
please, honey, please. One thing we do, and this is a great place to end it. Each morning, we remind ourselves of God's goodness. And we recite Psalms 23:6. Surely the goodness and mercy shall follow you all the days of your life. Now, we definitely love the goodness and mercy part. But all the days of your life, those words stand out for us because we realize every day is a gift. And so what we remind ourselves, remind each other frequently, if not always, nearly every morning, if we're together every morning, is this one statement. Today is one of the days of all of our life. All the days of our life. And as we do that, we're not only in one sense praising and worshiping, but we're setting the tone for the day to realize today is a gift, honey. Yeah. It's a gift that you and I are sharing again. It's a gift that we can that's going to propel us throughout this day, and the energy is going to allow us to be able to share and minister to other people. Today is the gift. Today is one of the days of all the days of our life.
So it's a gift it's a gift you can lean into, but it's also not so heavy. Like,
right.
It's not going to be that.
Yeah.
It's important, but
yeah. And I think that it's just a habit that we would encourage a lot of these young couples coming through, just starting out, is find your verse, find your message, and then daily repeat it to each other. That today is one of the days of all the days of our life. Good. We have been saying that, I can't even tell you when we started, for years and years and years, and it's just the echo, it's the natural rhythm of our hearts that those words are committed to each other.
Yep.
So good.
Yeah.
This is good.
So that's been a great journey. I can't wait for the next 57 years. What else are you going to learn?
Yeah, we're going to have to re-listen to this one.
This was rich parenting wisdom. This was great.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Gary and Anne Marie, for joining us. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for being an example to us and so many over the many years of your marriage, your relationship. It's been a blessing to so many people.
Thank you, guys.
Yes. Yeah. And thank you for joining us on the Life Parenting Podcast. If you've enjoyed this, there is so much more in the Growing Families curriculum. There are classes, lots of videos on the website, on our YouTube page.
And there'll be a link to that in the show notes, the website.
Yes. So growingfamilies.life is the website where you can find all those videos, also online classes.
Yeah, and you can find us on Instagram and Facebook. And if you listen to this podcast and you liked what you heard, please give us a like, share it with someone. We'd love for you to share it with someone, and take a few moments to just write a review. What you got out of this, what you are learning through listening to these podcasts.
Yeah, helps other people find it.
And there are so many other episodes you can go back to gain knowledge and wisdom from.
Yeah, and if you have suggestions for future podcast episodes, or if you have any questions, you can email us at podcast@growingfamilies.life.
So thanks for joining us on the Life Parenting Podcast, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you.
The 57 years, what we've learned in 50, our,
Well, what
our,
we
marriage,
learned about-
our marriage 57
We're
years.
not going to go year by year.
No. Thank you. I can't remember year by year. 80 years.
And then
It's
the
not
next
too
thing,
late.
and the next thing I'm going to ask to start it off is, in your first year of marriage, what was your first aha moment?
Oh, never say.
And you can pick anything. It could be a
Okay.
good one. It could be one of those like,
I bet
oh,
I know
Lord.
which one.
Yeah.
And you each going to answer that, and then we'll
Yeah,
get into it.
I've learned
You
never
got
to
something
say.
up front that's going to grab people.